Hey, welcome back, my friend. This is the Earn Your Title podcast. My name is Danny Dumas, and I am here to help you become a better husband, a better father, and a better leader. Today, I'm doing a book review. The book is Unf Yourself. A little crude, but I got a free subscription to Amazon Music for a little bit, and it popped up that I could get this book for free. And I had actually seen it on bookshelves. It was suggested multiple times. It was an easy read, or when I say read, it was easy to listen, about 6 hours. Really powerful. Like I don't reread books very often. I'm going to listen to this one again. There's 3 concepts, and there's a lot of concepts in the book that were just really powerful. And the book is about your mind, your thoughts, the way you think about the world, and how that affects the way you interact. And so I'm going to share 3 of the things that really stuck out to me, but there was more. And I would encourage you to read this book. The language is a little crude, but it was honest, and I can appreciate honest. The first one, your thoughts are powerful if you let them be powerful. And that's something that I took away, that it is, your brain is powerful and your thoughts are powerful, and we should try to control, or at least we should understand that our brain, our thoughts can really change what we do and how we act. And in the vein of that, some of the things that we need to be thinking about on a daily basis is the statement that I am willing or I am not willing. And the reason this was powerful is because in day-to-day life, we see things, especially with social media, we see things like, man, I would really like that. I would really like to get that new car. I would really like to get 6-pack abs. I would really like to, name the thing that you really want to do that you currently don't have. And it can be really easy to go down this depressive lifestyle of, I'm not succeeding because everyone else did this or did that. So let's take 6-pack abs as an example. If you have the idea and the thought of what am I willing to do, then something like 6-pack abs might not be for you. And let me explain. In order to get 6-pack abs where you're just ripped up, that is not a fitness problem. That isn't the solution to that problem is not fitness. Now you have to have a base level, but I'm going to shock you. We all have abs underneath our belly fat. In order to see them, you need to get down into the single digit body fat percentage. I'm talking 5, 6, 7%. And in order to do that, the diet that you need to exist on is not great. And you know what? I'm not willing to do that. I am not willing to get down to 7%, to do what it takes to get to 7%. It is not worth it to me because I am not willing. So when you start to have some comparison, if you can keep in your mind the idea that I'm willing or I'm not willing, as opposed to like, I just really want that, you put into perspective what it would take in your life to get to that. So to get 6-pack abs, are you willing to not eat the same meal as your family on a daily basis? I'm not willing to do that. I want to sit down and have a family meal because my family, I am willing to get home on time to spend an extra 45 minutes cooking a home-cooked meal so that we can all sit down and eat together. So I am willing to do that. I'm not willing to cook my own meal and not have this interaction with my family. I'm not willing to decrease my calorie intake to a ridiculous amount so that I can get a look of 6-pack abs, when in reality, whether you have a strong core or not has nothing to do with if you can see the core. If I still have a layer of fat, if I'm at, let's call it like a 10% body fat, and that would not let me see them, I'm still probably pretty strong. I'm pretty lean if I'm at 10%, and I wish I was at 10%. I'm not, but I don't know. Maybe I don't wish because I'm not willing to get there. Does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm saying? Tell yourself in your life, what are you willing to do? I wouldn't say that I'm a car guy. Like, I'd love to have a Ferrari, Lamborghini, but I would like to have a new Land Cruiser. Like that's on my list of things to do. But what am I willing to do? Now, I could go get a corporate job or a sales job. I could leave my job right now. I could get a sales job where my earning potential is unlimited. All I have to do is hustle extremely hard, spend lots of time away from my family and friends, and go after it. And I think I'm smart enough to figure out that world and that community, and I could go on and buy the car that I want. Buy that, the Ineos Grenadier. If you haven't seen it, a really cool looking car, $100,000. I'm not willing to go get a job that will allow me to buy a car that's $100,000. I'm not willing. I want it, but but I'm not willing to do it. And I think the power of the statement of it is I am willing is it gives you the control. And it's not because, it's like if you don't have what you want, what you see on Instagram, what you see in your friends have, it's not because you can't, it's because you're not willing to do it. Which leads me to my next statement. The next thing I learned in this is the statement that you are wired to win. Now, for some people, you're like, no, I'm not. I've been losing at life for as long as I want. Like, I am a procrastinator. I cannot get up on time. My room is always messy. You're wired to win. And the proof is you want to have a messy room because you're wired to win. And because it's easy to have a messy room and it's easy to procrastinate, and that subconsciously, that is what you want. And I talked about this book, that The Courage to Be Disliked, and they kind of mentioned this, that you have the life you want, whether you know it or not. If you are procrastinating, it's because that's what you want, and you're wired to win. You don't want a clean room, because if you truly wanted to do that, you would have a clean room. It's not that hard to clean up your room. It really isn't. It takes a little bit of work, it takes a little bit of time, but you could do that. You're wired to get what you want subconsciously. The life you have is the life you want. Now, I don't want to make you feel bad. Like if there's disability, there's some things you truly can't control. But if there's controllable things in your life, like waking up on time, having a clean room, having your finances organized and tracking where your money goes, all these things that you have control over. If you don't have that, it's because you truly don't want that. And we are wired to get what we truly want, which is a tough statement. That one, that one hurts a little bit. Like if I'm overweight, it's because that's what I want. Now, I could say I don't want that, but my actions consistently produce results where I am 10 to 15 pounds overweight because that's what I want. I want to have the chips at 9 o'clock at night because it makes me feel good. I want to have that extra slice of cake. I want to have that is what I want. And because that's what I want, I'm wired to get what I want, which means if you are truly going to change, you have to do some deep work and some real thinking and some introspection and say, hey, I'm getting what I want out of life. So I have to change my actions and I have to change the subconscious beliefs because my thoughts are really powerful and I want that stuff, but which is hard to do. I'm not saying any of this is easy. I'm saying it's simple. I do think it's simple, but it is not easy. You get what you want out of life because we are wired to win. Pretty powerful statement. So what are you willing to do? And just realize that you are wired to win. And the third one, and I really appreciate in this book because he talked about, thinking. He's like, this is not a book about the power of positive thinking. He's like, you can say to yourself, I'm a lion, I'm a lion, I'm a lion. You're not a lion. You're a human, right? You can't change some basic things, but your thoughts are super powerful and they can guide and direct you. And we should be guarding our thoughts, but you truly are not your thoughts. You are your actions. What you do determines who you are, not what you think, which is a really good thing. Because with our minds, just imagine that you had to do everything that you thought. So you're driving to work and someone cuts you off and you think, man, I should run this dude off the road. But you know what? Unless you're listening to this from jail, you don't do that, right? Because you are what you do, not what you think. Which is encouraging because some of us have some really negative thoughts of ourselves. And I understand that there's some history that goes in there. There's some parental things. Your parents told you some things that you just took inside in your subconscious you believe are true. But you can do things that aren't your thoughts, that your power of your doing is way more powerful than your thinking, which means when you don't feel like working out, but you work out, you are being powerful. You are doing what you're willing to do. You are a healthy person. You could have extremely unhealthy thoughts. I hate working out. I hate going for a run. I hate eating out. But if you go for a run, go to the gym, eat what you're supposed to eat, you are a healthy person despite your thoughts. And so why your thoughts are so powerful, it is not who you are. You are what you do, not what you think. And to me, I have to listen to that again. That was so good. So what are you doing in life? What are you doing on a daily basis? I think this goes back to the idea of like, one day when I'm motivated to work out, or one day when I'm motivated to, get a new job, one day when I'm, motivation is such a tiny, tiny aspect of life. Now it's important, and you can kind of hack motivation. I think that's why like New Year's Eve is important. Your birthdays are important, the start of a month, because you get a little bit of motivation. And motivation is a good reason to start something, but you will never, ever succeed at something that's significantly hard if you're relying on motivation. You will succeed at something that's significantly hard because you do the things that get you towards that goal on a daily basis, and you do them over and over and over. It's interesting when you look at like professional athletes. They have it all together. They work out, they spend years and years perfecting their craft, and then they retire and their life goes nuts, right? Well, why? Because they stopped doing. They maybe had some really negative self-talk. They maybe had, like fat guy thoughts. You've ever seen a professional athlete and you look at them, 10 years later, and they're like morbidly obese, big dudes that are just unhealthy. Well, did something change? Well, no, they probably in their entire life, they probably had those thoughts, right? I want to do this. I want to, I'm going to overeat. I'm going to do this, but they didn't. They did the right things. They did the healthy things. They did the things that moved them towards their career. And that's who they were. They were professional athletes. And then when they lost that ability to do, right, they didn't have that motivation of, maybe getting the paycheck to be in the NFL. The thoughts took over and they stopped doing, and they became who their thoughts were. But you are not your thoughts. You are your actions. So do the right things, even when you don't feel like it. Man, it was a really powerful book. I highly recommend it. I will link it in the show notes. I hope you've enjoyed this. My name is Danny Dumas, and this is the Earn Your Title podcast, and I will talk to you later. Bye.